Well, I think it's first important to set some context. In 1896, the United States Supreme Court ruled in a case known as Plessy versus Ferguson that the Negro, or the colored American, as that group was known then, could be separated, could be singled out and treated separately, or the word becomes segregated, in public accommodations, in facilities, in any way imaginable. They could be separated and segregated from the rest of society as long as the separate facilities, the separate accommodations were equal, ostensibly equal to that which other Americans enjoyed. The immediate case for this had to do with interstate travel, had to do with being on a train and buying a ticket in the north to sit in the first class car, and finding that once you would go into the south, into a southern state, in that state and in that area, they could have segregation policies that would, where then they could tell you to leave the first class car that you'd bought a ticket for and send you back to a separate segregated Negro car, or so-called Jim Crow car, that is only blacks in that area. And the other areas this could involve would be the movie theater, well, not movie theaters at that time, but the opera houses, but places where you might go out for a concert. And you would find that you'd pay the same price for a ticket, but as a Negro or colored person, you might have to sit in the balcony. You might have to sit somewhere, a separate area, just for members of your color, of your race, from the rest of the audience. Or, and lastly, schools. That in a school district could designate a certain school or schools as the place where blacks have to go to study, and separate from where everyone else goes. That's from kindergarten through high school to college even, that blacks could be kept out of going to school with everyone else. Again, as long as separate is equal. Now, that decision then gave legal, constitutional legitimacy to a whole range of racially oppressive policies in the United States that had been emerging since emancipation. Since the 1860s, the middle of the 1860s, when slavery, chattel slavery, was ended by constitutional amendment with the 13th Amendment, 13th, and the other amendments, the 14th and the 15th. These changed the status of African Americans in the country, but with this decision in Plessy versus Ferguson in 1896, that status had changed again. Right. And that it was clear that African Americans would not be able to be Americans like everyone else. They were going to be treated separately. They were going to be Jim Crowed, is the term.